That hurt. More verticality. Recording in progress. All right. Welcome to the Straight Red Card. I'm getting better at almost timing that. You know, I almost came in on the mic at the same time on the recording where I say, all right, recording in progress. All right. Yes. So the big news of the weekend, of course, and I think we'll just start there and then we'll move to making our 11 was that Reyna, I mean, that's the headline, right, of the program. Reyna played 20 minutes and then they've got a midweek game and then they've got another game. And what if he plays 30 minutes next game and then the next game he plays 60? Then you're like, okay, he's got to come to the camp, right? Even though he hasn't been here for a couple windows. Doesn't Reyna have to come to the camp? And then, so if you haven't watched it yet, I did this whole conversation with Max Bretos last night on his podcast. So if you haven't seen or listened to Max Bretos's podcast, go there. It's on whatever that's on. What's that on?
I found it on Spotify. I'm sure he's on other platforms as well.
Yeah. iHeart. Does that sound like another one?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay.
It's a major podcast. Then Spotify, Apple. There are other ones too, but those are the ones I can think of.
Right. So I guess don't you agree if Reyna's healthy and he plays 30 and 60 in the next two games, unless Dortmund's got a big problem with it and they're like, can you please not call him up? Please do us a favor. You know, we just got him healthy. We're worried if we send him your direction and he's traveling all over and, you know, he plays a bunch of men. And I guess the only way Gregg could make that easier on them is by saying, okay, I'll only play him like 20 minutes a game or whatever. And I think that might work. And by the way, thank you for everybody for joining us on the Straight Red Card live show. We're having kind of fun doing these. And so, yeah, Reyna's back. You know,
Casanova actually says that Reyna looked better coming back this time than he did 2 weeks ago.
Well, he certainly didn't walk off the field with tears in his eyes, so that is a good start.
In fairness, though, he was back for a game prior to that too. So, like, he played one game and then the next game he started and then came off.
That's true.
So
that's true, and you know, I don't know any reason why Dortmund would be afraid, but you know, we'll see how that works out. So, you know,
I mean, I can understand why. I mean, they have had him for over 5 months, 6 months now. So I'm sure they're like he just got back, you know. And again, this might be a thing where they go to Gregg and they say, hey, you know, we can't. I mean, outside of saying he's injured, we can't stop you from taking him.
They can't.
But could you possibly, you know, maybe like ease into him? Maybe he comes in a bit during the Panama game or even some of the Mexico game, but not starting, or, you know, feel the game out. Because, I mean, let's say if Mexico goes down 1-0 against us, you know, fingers crossed. But, you know, this would be the fourth game that they could possibly lose to us. It might start getting, you know, a little chippy.
Yeah, and, you know, that's the thing about this game coming up versus Mexico. It's not going to be powder puff, baby. This is going to be rock 'em and sock 'em. There's going to be some fouls. And so, you know, I know if I'm the manager at Dortmund, I'm worried because I know that Concacaf is extremely rough. So is that a slushy or a soda? My guess it's full half with vodka.
It's a pretty good guess.
That would be my guess.
And the other half is a mixer with caffeine.
Red Bull?
Fuck that.
Yeah.
Ugh. No, it's Coke. It's Diet. Well, the generic version of Cola O.
Okay.
Big K, Cola O.
Yeah. And I'm doing ginger ale and the Big V tonight. V being vodka, in case anybody gets the wrong idea there. And that would be weird if you did.
Savin and Sam, thanks for the comment there. Like Sam says, guys, hit that like button.
Hit it. Sam's so right. He's so right. So anyhow, I guess the bottom line is, do we agree? Because I had this text back and forth with Filippo last night, and he was like convinced this means Reyna's going to make the team. And I said, well, you know, Dortmund might have a word or two about that. And Filippo's like, well, they don't have a word. Well, yeah, they do. I mean, realistically, they can make a request. I mean, he's right. Berhalter does not have to listen to a word they say. He can say, I don't care how much more fitness you think he needs and how you're worried about how injured he might get. But we're taking him. We need to qualify for a World Cup. So suck it up, Dortmund. So there's that. We both agree?
Yeah, I mean, quite frankly, this is a window that it's obviously we have to have any of our players in that we can. We're already suffering a couple of injuries, and I think that Gregg's probably going to be looking at Reyna as coming back. If he plays again, whatever the game is, Wednesday and also on Sunday, although at that point, come Sunday, we'll know if he's on the list or not.
Right.
But I think that Gregg would almost have to call him in.
You would think.
If he's playing. I think this isn't like the first window where you're like, you know what, we've got the guys, we can shuffle around and survive. This is a window where we need to get some results just to guarantee our safety, because I don't want to go into Costa Rica, really stressing it,
And that will mean that Areola loses his spot on our list because he's not replacing any of the midfielders. So Areola gets booted, and then it becomes Pulisic, Weah, Aronson, Morris, and Reyna.
I forgot who I saw on Twitter. Somebody posted this, and I haven't watched any of the FC Dallas games except for a tidbit of the first week there. But somebody had said that Areola has been useless for FC Dallas. Is that accurate?
I mean, I think they just won their last game, but
any FC Dallas fans in the chat, guys?
I haven't watched the games. I just read the stats, the stat lines, and who played and who didn't play and who scored, who didn't score. When Ferreira's not scoring either, by the way. So that's an issue. And because I think we had him as one of our three center forwards. We had Pepe, Ferreira, and Sargent, I believe. Now I'm hearing through some weird, rumors, whatever you want to call them. They're not really rumors. I'm hearing through sources that I trust, and this is very odd, that Matthew Hoppe might get a call. I think it might happen. It might happen.
Gregg could use the fire and the grit that he brings.
Yeah, that's for sure, man.
He brings balls to the team, and that's something that we need.
He didn't play for Mallorca today. He didn't even make the 18. What is going on in Mallorca? What the hell is going on? And just my personal opinion, I think the manager's a fucking idiot. How's that? Number one, all of the two guys that I have who give me source and reports from team practices both tell me he's the best player in practice. He's the best attacking player they have in practice. But he never gets to play. And then when he got to play, they were getting their ass beat. He barely touched the ball for that 20 minutes he was on. And then he doesn't make the bench. What? And then he's not on the injury list. I looked. So I hope these rumors are true, Brett, because that means maybe Reyna's not coming. And maybe Pepe's not coming. Or maybe Ferreira's not coming. So does that leave Sargent? And there's no Ferreira, no Pepe. That leaves Sargent, Pifak, maybe, and Hoppe, and maybe
you're lumping Hoppe as a potential 9 in that roster. I don't see that happening. I
know, but
he's going to take a winger spot if anything. Although I guess you could Gregg could still bring in his favorites that he likes to bring in. That to Chris's point, couldn't he bring in Areola and Reyna at the same time? Depth is key. The spots are limited, guys. He's not going to exceed 26, 27 spots.
And
so people are going to have to get axed one way or another.
Berhalter's already said that once it's 28 players, he doesn't know how to run practice anymore. So, no, he literally said that.
Yeah, I know. I always bring that up, too. A lot of people are on your side and saying, like, geez, Derek, you better be right.
Man, I hope I'm right. And listen, I have some evidence. I can't tell anybody what it is. Maybe I will someday, but it'll be like 10 years from now when I write a tell-all or whatever. But, the honest truth is this is reliable information and it's believable, the things that have been told to me. And surprisingly, from reports I hear as well, Berhalter's been in touch with Hoppe through this very strenuous time at Mallorca, which I'm sure is frustrating as hell for Matthew. I'm sure it's really tough not being able to play when you feel like you're given 100% in practice and you're doing better than the other guys and you never get to play. And the owners are American, so you thought going into it, you're like, yeah, they're gonna want to play me, especially if I'm playing well. And Mallorca just keep going down the fucking table. What you got to try something different.
Well, I mean, even at the very minimum, even if they don't use him as an actual striker, take a page out of Gregg's book and put him out wide. The kid has passion and he has a grit and works his ass off.
And if you're
talented,
if you're doing something weird, like if Gregg's thinking, you know what, I'm saving all of my starters or the majority of my wingers and wide backs for Mexico, so they're all fresh. The guys that are going to have to run up and down the side of the field, we're going to keep all those guys fresh. So all backups out wide, or they all get replaced at the 65th. And so he needs other guys on the, we got Pulisic and we got Weah and we got Aronson and then we got Morris. So I don't know where he fits in there. So that's why I think it's a 9 because.
Well, again, he can bring him in as the third 9 and still use him out wide.
Because Sargent can play wide too, right?
Yeah.
But you can say that Hoppe's done nothing. I get it. He hasn't because he doesn't get to play. But you know what? Guess what? Pepe's not doing anything, and he doesn't get to play right now. And P-Fox's the only guy out there that's scoring. Zarda scored a goal after 20 minutes, but he doesn't start for Columbus. Altidore doesn't start for the Rebs. He scored a goal. So I hope that doesn't give Berhalter any bad ideas. I hope not. But then you just don't.
And how could you leave P-Fox off at that point? He's he's like the leading goal scorer in the Swiss league right now. I mean,
right.
How do you not call on somebody who's actually producing week in, week out? I understand he might not necessarily play the 9 that Berhalter wants him to play, but it is what it is. Suck it up and figure out how to use your players.
But what is that really? Ineffectual 9? Is that what that's called? Because that's what it's called.
A false 10.
Yeah, I mean it's a ghost.
Somebody false is here. Yeah.
Our 10 is the ghost on the team.
Here we go. This is why Hoppe's not playing.
Yeah, he's a minor owner, so maybe he has absolutely zero say. And
Arnold asking the big question here. I'm gonna let you.
Wow, believe me, it would go on till like very late in the AM if we did a drinking contest.
It all depends on what I've had to eat that day.
Let's just put it this way: I've never blacked out before in my life. I'm not a blacker outer. So I don't know if you are, Brett. Are you a blacker outer?
Nah, consistent. I've definitely had nights where I have blacked out. Yes.
Really?
But that usually stems from some very unique circumstances of drinking.
When's the last time you puked after drinking?
Oh fuck. Well over a decade ago.
Yeah, me too.
I don't puke.
But you guys got.
I don't get hangovers. I generally don't get hangovers either.
Me either. It's weird.
It's in our blood. German and North. Come on.
Yeah, exactly.
We're built to drink. I'm part Irish here, guys. Irish and Polish.
And we're not small mammals either. I mean, we're. I used to be taller. I was like 5, almost 6 foot. Now I'm shrinking as I get older. I'm like 5'10" and a half. I'm like, no, I don't want to go under 10, 5'10". So let's say P-Fox, Sargent, Hoppe, and Gio all get in. Who does Berhalter drop? Well, you could definitely drop Areola, right? And
we can start the easy part of the strikers because there's 3 strikers and a winger. So let's say, going from last window, Pepe, Ferreira, and Zardes have dropped.
Yeah, Pepe, Ferreira's gone. They're gone.
So
they're not going to be
they
here.
get dropped. And then as far as the winger is concerned, again, it's Ariel or Morris at that point.
And I guess the only people might contend, well, Sargent's playing every game, but Norwich suck. But hey, he's playing in the Premier League, so the teams he's playing against are really a challenge. It's really a challenge. Not that you couldn't say the same thing about Pepe if he were playing at Augsburg, but he didn't play in the last game. He seems way off his form. They're going to baby him through this. He got some minutes off the bench the game before, and then he didn't play at all. Maybe Gregg's thinking, let's just let this kid stay in Augsburg and continue to, give him a break, give him a rest during the window.
It doesn't help Pepe's case at Augsburg when the rest of their strikers are scoring goals.
Yeah.
So,
fact,
they're battling for relegation, guys, and they're going to go with what's working right now, and that means Pepe's going to get bit minutes or bench until something happens.
Yeah, and I think Pepe can handle this.
Yeah,
I think he'll understand it. And then
18-year-old kid. Come on.
If Herrera started off the season like a lightning rod, scoring all these goals and assists for FC Dallas, I'd be like, okay, yeah, Herrera. But I mean, it's just not been that impressive to me in the games that I've watched, which is one. Otherwise, I just watched the highlights, which are pretty good. But he's the center forward for that team, so you are an attacker for that team, so you would expect in the highlights to occasionally see him doing highlight things as an attacker. I haven't seen it unless I missed something in this last game, but I know he didn't score the last game. So there's that. I'm sure he had moments, but we don't need moments right now. We need somebody who can put the ball in the goal. And when we hit Panama in that second game, and Panama plays a low block, and we start crossing those balls in, who's going to hit that? Who's going to hit that header? I mean, Pepe more likely than Ferreira, but Pifak more likely than both. So just God help me if Altidore scores.
It's just a follow-up to that super chat. Chris goes, Pifak for Zardes, Sargent for Jesus, Hoppe for Pepe, and Reyna for Areola. Wishful thinking? I mean, that's basically what we said. It might be wishful thinking.
I don't think it's super wishful thinking.
No.
All right, we're going to get into some wishful thinking later. I think it's possible. And that's all I can say. I mean, I think it's possible. I don't know because, listen, we're dealing with mind melding with Gregg here. That is so hard to do, even though it seems easy sometimes, but it's just not. So it's a pain in the ass. And we're lucky we get it as right as we have been, frankly. All right, so we're
real quick. There's one I wanted to bring up about Hoppe before we jump off that topic.
Okay.
Nate goes, Hoppe can't come. Followed up with he won't be game ready, and that's a concern, and I can understand it. But we're not necessarily saying that he would come in and start every game or any game. He may just come off of the bench.
He's fit as hell right now.
So
I know he's not playing games, and you're right. He won't be maybe game ready, but there's nothing in that I've seen about Matthew Hoppe that doesn't say, you put me on and I'm game ready.
And again, just imagine the spunk and the energy that comes off the bench for like 20, 25 minutes if you needed it.
Did you have to say spunk? Right after they said Hoppe can't come? All right. That's gross. All right. So any others? Are we ready to move? Because I don't have
we can move.
I don't have the comments on.
I could be pulling up comments all day, man. That's the thing. So we'll move on. We'll talk about more stuff.
Yeah. I mean, we're trying to get as many comments on the show as possible. So we're sorry if we missed it. I'm not even, don't even have comments running on my screen because I find it distracting. So Brett.
And your computer explodes.
Right. And Brett can do, I guess, more multiple things at once than I can.
I'm younger. I can multitask.
All right. Let's get that up on the screen. Let's build our 11 for Mexico. This is for Mexico. The game versus Mexico in Azteca. Where's the camp? Where's the camp prior?
You know what? Somebody mentioned that and tagged us on Twitter. And they're like, I wonder where they're going to be setting up camp prior to Mexico. I mean, it's only going to be a couple of days, but But it's got to be closer. I'm imagining it's got to be relatively close to Mexico.
I thought it was Orlando.
I guess if they do it at Orlando, I mean that's a quick 3-hour flight if that.
Yeah, that's a quick hop to not quick to Costa Rica, but still, I mean, it's better than being.
It's where that's where it's at. It doesn't matter where the pregame is.
It doesn't exactly
in Orlando, and they still have to go to Costa Rica, so it doesn't really matter there.
Doesn't exactly prep players for the altitude at Azteca, does it?
Yeah, when the guy who brought it up on Twitter wondered if it is Orlando, like in Colorado or something like that.
I mean, that's what we typically would do before Azteca. We would, a lot of in the old days with Bruce and whatever, we do that whole prep thing. So, and we would practice at the highest possible place.
Well, yeah, I wonder what the weather in Colorado would be at that point. Would it be better to find out like a higher altitude place, like in
Mount McKinley? I don't know if you could even build a soccer field up there.
just imagine, the strength and muscle that you're building when you're running up those hills or mountains.
Oh, by the way, speaking of Mount McKinley, and we've already done our thing where, screw that, I would never climb the Himalayas, right? Now, for whatever reason, I got into cave dive videos. Oh, dude, it literally gives me nightmares watching these videos, especially when they get lost. And like they almost die while they're down there.
You have a tendency to just like watch shit that just
really grim.
Like
I've always been fascinated with the grim side. And then after I'm done watching, I'm like, why did you do that to yourself? You're already in a dark enough spot in your head. Why add more material? Especially the sharks thing. But
sharks in caves, those will be the worst.
Yeah. I mean, it was a bunch of these kids. Sharks. With this rudimentary equipment that wasn't really for deep sea. And they went below like 500 feet or 600 feet. I can't remember what it was in a cave, in a cave dive. And they all died except for the one kid who said, screw that, guys. This is stupid. I'm not doing it.
You need to expand what you're watching, man. Get some happy stuff in there.
There is it's Cave Dive, I believe, is the page on YouTube. I love the show. It creeps me out, though. Anyhow, let's start with our goalkeeper because now we got another freaking problem. Stefan was on the bench today for Man City. And what if he gets...
I guess before we get there, let's hit the super chat up.
All right. Yeah, okay. Thank you. Jose Reyes, one of our favorites. Normally, I'd be talking about tactics or players for both teams. Right now, just qualify. I don't care which player helps us. Don't. Gregg is to blame for that. Oh, okay. Yeah, I guess so. It doesn't. You just want to win. I get that. But I mean, at some point, we do have to talk about tactics and players because that might make a big difference. Like if we started the Noblesville U18 side tomorrow against, we're not going to win any of the games. So you do have to talk about the players and tactics. I don't think we need to talk about as much because we know what those are in Gregg's standard 4-3-3.
Yeah, I guess we should talk about that real quick. Guys, don't expect anything new.
No.
What we've experienced this entire World Cup qualifying and prior to that, just substitute players in and out. It's not going to change. We're going to play very similar to how we played anywhere else.
One of the most frustrating things about going to other places to watch their idea of what the starting 11 is going to be on YouTube has been, hey, maybe we'll play this. Maybe we'll play a 4-2-3-1. There's no evidence for that. Where's your evidence that we're going to play that? And the last time Gregg tried 3 in the back, we had the worst first half against Honduras than any other team in the octagon. So is Adams injured? It's not serious. He'll be there.
He's back. He was already back.
Yep. He's back. He's been back. Now the Turner situation, no one will talk about that. Bruce Arena was asked about it in a pressy, and he said, no comment. He didn't want to talk about it. But
we brought this up on was it on
Pete's show?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was just a rumor then, but I mean it's been picking up some steam on Twitter. Now, I don't know if we were the start of that rumor or if some other stuff has come out since.
Well, no one's denied it.
Yeah.
No one said, no, it's not because of the Tundra Bowl. All right. That's not because of that. That's not what the freakish injury is. When somebody says something's a freakish injury, then you got to start wondering, well, what kind of freakish injury? So the Federation gave Turner frostbite. He might not even have a foot. The only rumors I've been hearing is that it's toes, not a whole foot. So, but I mean, as a goalkeeper, do you really want to lose your baby toe or any of your toes? You got to push off on those little digits,
Yeah.
So that's a big loss. Hope it's not the big toe, but unfortunately, the big toe sticks out, a lot more than the other ones do, depending on
a lot more mass. Yeah.
Depending on how mal-shaped his foot is. And I don't want to see his foot. I certainly don't want to see it if it's got black marks on the tips where he got frostbite. That's gross. We don't need an Aaron Rodgers situation here. Feet are disgusting. All right. Any other relevant
Nope, let's move on to our 11.
Okay, Brett. Now we got a dilemma. We had Horvath.
I don't see it as a dilemma.
We had Horvath.
I still do.
But what if Stefan plays that cup game midweek?
I don't care. Stefan just got back from being injured. Horvath has been playing for the better part of a month now. Month worth of games. Let's rephrase that.
And playing well.
Windows. Yeah, and playing well. So I am sticking with Horvath here.
All right, I'll stick with you on that one. Why does this get so complicated? It's like, all right, yeah, Reyna won't be there. He's injured. Oh, nope, sorry, he's back.
Surprise.
He's back sooner than thought. Well, previously. They've been warning us this might happen. But I didn't expect him to play. I thought he'd get 10 minutes, but he came in with Holland and got 20. So, all right, so we got Horvath. And
this might go by pretty quick, guys, because I don't think we're going to be changing a whole hell of a lot.
No, because we got...
So number 2 is left back.
Yeah, that's easy. That's Jedi. Right back, easy, Dest.
Oh, well, okay. We're going to...
Did you just make Jedi? Jed?
That's Jedi. Jedi.
Oh, it's so small. For me.
Yeah, I got you.
Because maybe if I made my screen full screen, but then I'm worried my stupid new laptop will freak out. Not really so much the laptop. I've started to figure out that it's actually Edge. It's Edge. Is anybody else having a problem with Edge, using Edge? People are going to be like, you use Edge? That's stupid. Their crap always sucks. It's always flipping out on certain websites. So that's the left back, right back. And then I was worried that maybe Miles was out because he was injured in the last game for Atlanta, but no, it was yellow card accumulation. Yeah. Taking it to the edge here. Makes me want to jump off an edge. So I think this is still...
There's going to be memes all about it now, Derek.
Yeah, I know. Derek
Boomer Derek using Edge.
What a moron. It came with a laptop. I'm sorry. I know it's not that hard to
Comes with Windows 10, period.
I did put Google Chrome on there now as well. I just haven't switched all my passwords and opened all the sites I need to open and get all the passwords saved again on there so I don't have to... Anyhow. So this is easy. It's Zim. Zim is your dude. He's one of your 2 dudes back there. And then the other question is who else? And, well, who else has Berhalter's total trust? And Richards is out. He's still injured. So it's Miles, right?
Yeah, that's going to be.
So, we've talked about this, but we've never done this, right? We haven't done our starting 11 versus Mexico yet, have we?
No, we've talked about the players, and we talked about the who might get called up last time, and we alluded to who may be starting over others, but we never talked about an actual starting.
Okay. And then here's where people are going to disagree with us, but in the 8 spot, the 6, which the number's 8, it's Acosta.
Yeah.
We're saving Adams for Panama. And Acosta, he has shown he can hang in there and he can deliver some wicked crosses on set pieces. So let's save Adams. And because if Adam gets another yellow card, he can't play versus Panama. You're done. So, and that's going to be a really physical game. it could get ugly. Relax. These kids don't realize what it was like to use Internet Explorer or see a paperclip give you suggestions. What if I told you my first computer, you had to get online by using a phone?
Yep, dial up. Classic.
Yep. So
you're in the process of downloading some illegal music at the time, and then your parents pick up the phone. You're like, no!
To download a 1 megabyte file took like a half an hour to 45 minutes. Seriously, that's what it was like back then, folks.
Thanks, Jose, for the 5.
Thank you, Jose. And then we move, and these guys should be wider, I think. No, they're fine. They're fine.
We're splitting hairs at this point. We're just forming information here.
It's Musa and it's De La Torre. I think
I'm putting Musa on the right because him and Dest, and I'm assuming way up top on the right, have a great connection together. And I'm not sure why Musa and McKinney flip-flopped in the last window.
Well, De La Torre was really good as left him. So I'd say that's where it's going to happen. And I think Gregg really gained confidence in Luca De La Torre. And I'm glad he was brought last window, and I'm glad he finally got to play in the most important game, the must-win game of that window. So, Luca De La Torre can run all day. So he can play 2 games in a row, and then if we're done and we're qualified, we're good to go. No. Long or Ream?
I'm guessing that means for Robinson, since he's not necessarily having a great stellar beginning of the season.
Yeah, I get it. It could be. Listen, Nate, you might be right about Long. We're just trying to do our best.
We included in our 27. We included both Long and Ream, as well as Brooks.
Yeah, we're trying to read.
To see who gets who.
We're trying to read Berhalter's mind here, which is not easy to do. So we'll see how wrong we are. But I would not be shocked if Aaron Long started. And we did pick Ream to make this team.
Mm-hmm.
So why, you might ask? Because Richards is still not fit. Miazga doesn't play. McKenzie doesn't play. CCV has no fucking clue about Gregg's system. Nor does, to a bigger account, yes, EPB does. But I like Luca on the left. Our attack is missing from there, and he connects it. And the other thing about Luca De La Torre that we learned in the Honduras game, and people are going to say, well, who cares about the Honduras game? They were awful. Their nuts were frozen. And they played like it. But he was competent at defense, too. He got back, and he's a smaller guy, but he gets back, and he's a little bulldog back there. And, man, he runs his ass off. So I think that's where we're going to go.
This was the other one I had up a second ago because this is a concern that gets brought up.
Going to be Adams at the
6 with Acosta as an 8.
That would be the worst decision that Gregg could make. There is no artistry. There's no creativity if you play Acosta as an 8. Would it shock me? No. If Gregg did something like that, I'd just be like, oh, God, Gregg, why? We know what that's going to amount to. And so, you're putting Tyler Adams at risk, and then you're playing the one guy on the team that should never play an 8. I'm more comfortable with him playing left back than an 8. That's how ineffective Acosta as an 8. He's that bad.
That's the concern. People talk about how Acosta's natural position is the 8, but the problem is it's not at the international level.
Not the international level. It might be at LAG, but it's not
LAFC.
LAFC, god damn it. But it had been at Colorado last year, but it's not on the international squad. That's Adams' spot. But when Adams is not there, that is Acosta's spot. Mm-hmm. So listen, if you want to roll the die on Adams in a physical game versus Mexico, which it's going to be, there's going to be pushing, there's going to be neck grabbing, there's going to be eye gouging and poking. So, Adams, we've seen him lose his cool. That's why he got the other yellow card. He lost his cool, and he was frustrated. Mm-hmm. So let's not even risk it. Panama's the more important game.
Yep.
And we can still win with Acosta at the
sure. I think you can go back. You can go back and look at any of the games that where Acosta was good, and I can almost guarantee you that the vast majority of them are him playing the 6.
And let's not. I don't want to be overcritical of the old men playing for the Mexican national team, but let's face it, there's a lot of old men on that team, and they haven't really brought the next generation into this team. So they're not that fast either. And they don't play guys like Diego Lainez doesn't get a lot of time. Maybe it's because he doesn't get a lot of time on his club. Yeah. But I just think that next generation, they're sticking with a fairly old lineup. We'll see what Tata brings. We don't know yet. But we're going to be way faster and quicker than them in the midfield.
I was going to say, so that's one reason why you'd want to have Luca De La Torre and Musa running that midfield.
Oh, that's going to run them.
It's just full speed ahead on the attack there. So
yep, it's going to run them ragged.
Yep,
I hope, and we come out of there with a point maybe. Acosta shows up versus Mexico. That's true. He has before, so you can add that to the equation too.
Plus, I would love to take full. I'd love to take his ability of free kicks and put it to use against Mexico.
Yeah, I mean we're gonna have
that's where we're gonna need it. So
that is one way. So the one big advantage we have versus Mexico still, outside of Jimenez and one other guy, is how tall we are compared to how tall they are. We are generally taller and have bigger guys. So if you're slinging corners in, or you're slinging, passes or free kicks from outside the box, it'd be nice to have somebody as skilled at Acosta taking free kicks there. And then someone might say, well, then why don't you just start Reyna? Well, we'll see about that.
Not against Mexico, no.
No, I don't think he's going to do it versus Mexico. He might get like the last 20 minutes or something versus Mexico. But I don't think he's starting because Weah is our right winger and Pulisic's our left winger.
Well, we're just jumping right into it, huh?
Yeah. Well, that's the easy part. Now, I understand that Weah is not playing for Lille much right now, and I get it. But right now, out of all our forwards and strikers, outside of Pulisic and Aronson, who is playing almost every day? Not Conrad. He's not going to make this team. His coach just called him a slacker, a guy who doesn't work hard at practice, to the press. That's never good when that happens. And it might be that Conrad's balls were shined too much while he was at Barcelona, and he thinks he's a trophy. And he needs to get over that and work hard. When a coach comes out and says that to the press, he's not fooling around anymore. That means he's gone up to your face for many practices and said, dude, you need to work harder. You need to put more time and effort. You need to focus. And then he's seen no change. I don't think he would not play Conrad because he started off the season playing. Conrad's played himself off the team or unpracticed himself.
There you go. That's probably a better term.
So you don't have Conrad. I say, yeah, this is it. Pulisic and Weah. And here becomes the giant dilemma. Who starts at center forward? Man, you could take a three-sided die and just roll it.
So I guess I'll go ahead and start and give my explanation why.
Okay.
I'm going with PFOC.
Okay.
For two reasons. One, and I mentioned it earlier, guy's on fucking fire. He's leading the Swiss league in scoring goals. Quite frankly, you need that, especially when we need to score goals. On top of that, our most dangerous goal-scoring opportunities against Mexico this past year have been off of set plays. So we have Acosta lobbing balls in on free kicks. Why not throw PFOC in there, who is good in the air?
Yes, he is.
Good at connecting on those free kicks,
And he's good in the junk. Like, meaning when the ball starts...
Not the Zardes form of in the junk?
Ping-ponging around in the box. Somehow it finds PFOC's feet, and he's always putting the junk balls away. So that's another guy. He's a scrapper, and he's good in the air. Let's get him in there, and let's focus on set pieces going into Mexico. They're going to give us some space. So if you've got Musa and LDT blowing by the Mexican midfield, somebody's going to have to foul these guys at some point, and we're going to get some free kicks. So let's make use of it.
There's definitely other arguments to be made.
Sargent might be the smart move with his defensive ability in a hostile Azteca. Yeah, maybe, but and you could say he's got the experience now in England of playing games again in hostile territories too and losing.
Maybe you start Sargent and then throw PFOC in at the 60th. Say, hey, go out there, bust your ass. I know it's a high altitude, so you're going to get gassed a little.
That's
sooner
a good
than normal.
point.
And then you throw PFOC in. When all the legs are tired, fouls are going to occur.
Yeah,
I mean that might be the game plan.
I mean, with that altitude, we could see all the subs made by the end of the game. So that's like almost half the team, right?
All 16 of them.
So we could see a lot of resting going on. Listen, it's tiring playing in high altitude, low oxygen. Sucks. Everybody we've ever interviewed before said it sucks. John O'Brien, was he the one who was like, yeah, it sucks playing in Azteca. It's like you can't get a breath. Might have been somebody else. It's been a long time. But one of the former U.S. men's national team players we had on mentioned how sucky it was to play in two places in particular. I think I remember it being Azteca and Bolivia. I think it was.
Yeah.
So
those definitely two high altitude places.
That's for sure. So who are we going with? PFOC? I'm with you.
I'm going with PFOC, but I can definitely see the argument for starting Sargent.
Me too. But I could, if somebody came up to me as well and said, no, it's going to be Zardes, I go, yeah.
Well, if you channel your inner Gregg, yeah, I agree.
I'd say, I hope not, but you could be right. That's the saddest part about this is that we really don't have a hot striker right now. If you told me it was Hoppe, I'd go, okay. Anything's possible at this point. So many people are out, but PFOC is the guy that's earning it right now.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Gregg doesn't really care about that, obviously. And he doesn't really care about form, despite what he said about Brooks, because that's not an issue for him either. So Gregg only makes subs at the 70th minute. All of them? No, Brian, the 80th. Sometimes he waits way too long, that's for sure. When it's obvious shit ain't working. There was one game, the obvious game, where we came back and won the game, where he's like, okay, this shit is broken. You're out at halftime. These guys are in. And then we went on and won the game 4-1. So that can happen. Now, we did listen to some other people's takes, and we've already picked on Jimmy Conrad, and we didn't pick on him. And Heath Pierce. We didn't pick on him. We love Jimmy. We love having him on the show. We just disagreed. That's all.
Hey, they've had a great sense of humor about it. Posted a couple things on Twitter. They've given likes and responded. So.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
There's definitely no hurt feelings by any means.
I mean, yes. Did I make fun of Heath Pierce playing Slonina in Mexico? Yes, at Azteca. I did. I made fun of him, but in a, bust your balls kind of way, old school. Like, how do you even justify that? And, he wouldn't give up on it today either. So now I'm really mad.
Our good friend Brian brought up a good point on Twitter that Slonina will be starting this window, but probably for the U20s in Argentina.
Yeah, there's no reason to rush a kid that just turned 18 out.
Not only that, but with Stefan coming back at this point.
Yeah.
Then at that point you have your three. Horvath takes Turner's spot. That's about it.
Yeah, and maybe if you think after the first game that Horvath starts, that Stefan's fully healthy and, you've seen him play in practice beyond 2 days, you start him in the second game against Panama. So on slide 15, you'll see the optional time to make subs is between 70 and 80th minute. Next slide, please. Our goal is to change the way the world thinks about American soccer. That was the worst slide I read. And I'm sure there are other ones that are totally cringeworthy. That's not your job, Gregg. That's not your job. That's not the player's job. Your job's to win and qualify for the World Cup. That's your only job. Don't worry about what the rest of the world thinks about American soccer. They can go fuck off. We don't give a crap what they think. We're just going to succeed. And guess what? That'll change their minds. So if that's an end result of a good run and qualifying and a good run in the World Cup, then it'll happen. Otherwise,
I think
Don't
what we
even
found
put
out,
that slide up.
I think what we found out with that slide is that Berhalter is a big Bill Nye, the Science Guy fan.
How's that?
Bill Nye has a phrase. He always had every episode. He'd always say is like, if you put your mind to it, you can change the world.
I can't stand things like that. Listen, that's possible, but you know what? Somebody has got to be the janitor. Somebody's got to work at the sales desk. Somebody's got to do this job and that job. We can't all be goddamn, movie stars, rappers. I mean, if you put your mind to it, sure, I guess if you completely apply yourself, maybe you could be something great or good at something or find what you're good at. But not everybody needs to, conquer the world. So I'm getting sick of that. I'm getting sick of that because what that means is when you look at other people who have lesser jobs than you later on in life, after you hear something like that from Bill Nye, you're like, oh, they must be losers. They must have not applied themselves.
Well, we have to remember that Bill Nye is talking about science and doing things to advance science and climate change and shit like that. So, I mean, it's not like he's like, if you want to be a doctor, you could be a doctor. Hey, it's just a phrase like, you could change the world,
Well, we all could change the world, I guess, in one way. We all do change the world. But the way he says it is like you can change like the world in a giant way. Yeah, some people do that. Some bad people change the world in a negative way. So anyhow, Jake says, is Derek available for motivational speeches? Yes, I am actually. And believe it or not, I'm a regular. I have done over 100 presentations, not on motivation, on building professional learning communities, on the history of the Bloomington landscape over 100 years. I do presentations all the time. You can find my history ones. They're online. You put in Derek Ritchie, Bloomington, Monroe County History Club. You'll find me on there. Mucho times. I do it every year. I go there and give another presentation. So, all right. But no, not a motivational speaker, man. That's not what I do. All right. And that's the funny thing, right? That's kind of the joke in what he was saying, because I'm not. Obviously, I'm a Debbie Downer. I'm like, man, somebody's got to mop the floors. That's just how it goes.
And it's going to be you.
And it's not because he's lazy and not because he didn't apply himself and not because, he didn't think, oh, geez, I need to change the world. No, that's what he wants to do. Somebody's got to do it. Nate, where's Bicky? I hope I got that right, Nate.
Much better than what I would have said.
We
got to use.
Ignore
the period.
English major. We got to use Aronson centrally because he's been so good for Salzburg at the central attacking roles. He's so inventive and skilled, and without McKennie, we're putting one of our best. This is a good time to bring up the piece from FIFA America, Jake Show, right?
Yeah. Let's one pull it up. Let's go and talk about this because we have talked about this before, like utilizing him as in the central because that's where he plays for Salzburg. The problem is Gregg doesn't play a position that he plays at Salzburg.
And so, yeah, we don't play a CAM. We don't play a 10. You show me any evidence of that, and I'll go, okay, yeah, I guess that's possible. He's done it 30% of the time. There's 0% of the time chance that that's happened. And there's 0% chance going into this window that we're going to do that because Gregg's going to just do Gregg at this point. If he's smart, he's not going to do a bunch of experimentation and screwing with the players' heads by doing all these weird ass formations that they've never practiced, never learned, and never discussed. So Gregg is so predictable at this point that it would absolutely shock me if we lined up in a 3-2-1, a 4-2-3-1. One of my favorite positions, by the way. So if he did it, I'd throw a party. But then I'd be worried, oh, shit, has he fully prepared these kids for this different formation? So Aronson could have taken the right wing for Weah, and Reyna could sub for Musa at the 60th. Again, listen, these are all good ideas.
You just don't have the coach for it.
In a perfect world and a different coach, that's a great idea. Mm-hmm. But Reyna's not going to play midfield. I don't care what he does at Dortmund.
I say, despite what he does at Dortmund, yes.
And there is no way that Gregg is going to suddenly fling Reyna in at midfield, not in his system, because his midfielders his 2 8s are box-to-box guys, and he wants Reyna in a more attacking space. And since we don't play CAM, he's got no other choice to play him out as a right winger or as a false nine, which we've seen no evidence of that either. And so last show, I know I got really harsh and I was saying, we can't live in a fairyland world at this point. We got to be real. And I hope that didn't piss Heath off. I don't think it did. Like you said, they've been replying on Twitter.
The thing is, when you talk about players and stuff like that, they've got to have relatively thick skin. And then, despite we keep saying like, "Oh, geez, I hope we didn't hurt their feelings or anything like that." Well, you didn't say anything that was bad.
No, I didn't.
I mean, you criticized a couple player selections, but again, 95% of what you said, you agreed with him on.
I'm glad you remember all that. So that's my other problem. I don't remember what I said. As soon as the show's over, it's gone. Gary, Debbie Downer. Womp womp. True. I haven't been. I mean, listen. I'm a pretty dark guy. It reminds me that my album is coming out in 3 months now. It's finally been pressed. Well, half of the pressings are done on record. So if you guys are record people and you like indie rock, it's going to come out. And then when you hear the music, you're going to go, that's some dark ass fucking indie rock music. I mean, this is dark, man. Yeah. I mean, I guess that's kind of the way I got it out of my system back in the day. I would play a music and I would write and I'd get it out. So, Jake, who do y'all rate higher, Musa or Weah? Well,
they play different positions.
They do. Is this Jake? No.
I doubt it. I'm sure he'd be under his FIFA America account if it was.
Oh, that's true. Yeah. Right now, I'd have to rate Musa higher, even if I wasn't going to take into account they play too. Well, Musa does play out wide for Valencia a lot, or had. But right now, Musa's he's just in better form, and Weah's not getting any playing time. But that might not mean a thing. I mean, a guy like Weah can be like, screw it. I'm using this opportunity with the national team to show people how good I am. That might inspire him.
Well,
it might put a chip on his shoulder.
I mean, it's kind of been what's been happening. I mean, Jimmy and Heath had a stat up that says that last time he got an assist was like back in December.
It's been a while. It's been a minute for sure.
Sorry, I hear a bunch of kids moving around, and they should not be awake.
Little gremlins.
They're going to get water, it looks like.
By the way, if I mentioned it earlier, but if you haven't checked out Max Bretos's show with me, it was a one-on-one podcast that was supposed to end it in 35 minutes. It went on for an hour. Like, we couldn't shut up. So there you go. It was
that's the thing. That's the thing. We're always like, oh, geez, let's keep this at 20 minutes. And then 40 minutes later, it's always like that. So it didn't surprise me when you're like, yeah, it was supposed to be a 35-minute episode. And we were there for 52 minutes or whatever it was.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah. I mean, yep. I totally see that, Derek.
It's like, there's no way, that's happening. I didn't say it to Max before the show started, but I'm like, there's just no way this is going on for 35 minutes. But I was willing to keep it short if he wanted to. But yeah, we didn't even cover. Like, we had 5 topics to cover. We covered 3. So that would have had to been like an hour and a half show for it to work out. All right. So this is all 3 guys from FIFA America today. Have to give Jake lots of props for, sort of putting the gavel down and saying, no, I'm making an executive decision here. This is who's starting. Because there's some weird ideas out there. And let's start with
I guess what we needed to do is we need to preface it's weird in the sense that we're judging it from a Gregg Berhalter standpoint.
But shouldn't everybody at this point? What other way is there to do it? Your wish list, your Disneyland wish?
I had a dream.
Yeah, we can't do that anymore, folks. I mean, if you want to do it, you can. You can say, all right, well, my dream lineup is a 3-5-2.
I got Pulisic starting at goalkeeper.
And I'm coming up, with Pulisic at goalkeeper. I'm starting Matt Turner at center forward. I mean, listen, we can do a lot of weird shit. It's hard enough to get Gregg right as it is. So if we start going even further off the reservation, then we're just giving you BS information, right? We're just not giving you anything. We're screwing up your expectations for, I mean, most of you know it anyhow. You've got reality. It's in your head. You figured out who Gregg is. And so I just don't feel any need at this point to make up things that'll never happen.
Yeah,
So,
and I think the issue is that we've come to the realization that it's not grass is not always greener on the other side at this point. You know,
right.
we're like, okay, you know, people are out there, they're having dreams. They you know, like, oh, wouldn't it be great if we did this, and this? And we're just like, yeah, it's probably not.
I mean,
happen.
and then let's say you do have a dream.
We could be wrong. We could be wrong, and we'll absolutely eat crow for wrong.
Oh, we will. If
absolutely call it out, like, oh, we totally fucked that up, man.
Dude, if Gregg comes out playing a 4-2-3-1 in the next game, I will ask for eternal apologies. And I will apologize to the guy we're about to play right now. I will text him and say, dude, I am really sorry that I did a mini bust ball on you. But I mean, really, at the time, that's
like,
not.
Hey, man, good call. You know.
Yeah, I mean, Jesus, you got like a magic ball I could buy. I mean, I'd like a crystal ball that I could purchase from you because, god damn,
is Berhalter changing formations?
I mean, the only way
unlikely. Shit.
Berhalter, he would have to take some magic mushrooms or get really take acid to change what he's doing right now. He would have to go into a total different mental state than where Gregg is, because Gregg believes in Gregg, and Gregg believes in Gregg's system, and Gregg believes in how he's doing things. And
I mean, we've had instances where we didn't have Weston, we didn't have Pulisic, we haven't really had Reyna.
Well, people are saying that too.
We've had that. We've always played the same thing over and over and over again. So I mean, you guys, they got the formation of the 4-3-3 up there, right?
Yes. No, I'm just saying they got that right. One important player like McKennie isn't going to make Gregg say, well, I've thrown this whole thing out, the baby with the bathwater at this point, and start and do something completely different. So did he just ask Brett for a magic ball? No, I asked for this guy we're about to play's magic ball if his prediction here or his wish comes true. Let's play it.
All righty.
I wouldn't be shocked to see something like a 4-2-3-1, or as kind of what I would like to see a little bit against Mexico.
I'd be shocked.
In the McKennie injury. And then I think on the right wing, we could get away with even playing someone like Ferreira out there, or if we wanted to save somebody like Weah for the game. I see if we do come out with a 4-2-3-1, then you got to ask yourself if you want to have Aronson or Reyna in the middle. I think it would make sense to have Aronson there, but if you wanted a little bit of positional flexibility and to save Weah for the game against Panama, then I think you could have Gio potentially in the middle. He obviously doesn't have the legs to go long enough, I think, yet, but I think it would be something that you could see a little bit different. And just because Gregg has kind of rolled the same formation out there, and
yes,
now he has some injuries, we're going to see how flexible he can be.
Not flexible.
What? He didn't make it past his first day of yoga.
Dude, I want the bag of shrooms this guy's on because it must be fucking fantastic.
Well, I mean, the thing is, once you start changing the formation, then yeah, I mean, things will start falling into place as far as like you're listening to like maybe we play Ferreira out wide, we put Reyna in the middle or for part of the game or whatever, and you start thinking like, well, that could be a possibility. I wouldn't necessarily play Ferreira out wide. Again, Weah would have been the better option, which is what he brought up in the end. But yeah, when you start changing the formation, of course, and at that point things are just going to start expounding as far as, well, that's not going to happen. Well, that's not going to happen. That's not going to happen because we're going to play the 4-3-3 regardless.
We're not playing a 4-2-3-1. We're playing a 4-3-3.
I've always said it. I absolutely hate solo striker formations. Hate them.
It doesn't
that's
really
me, though.
matter.
That's me.
But see, that's the point. It's like you can hate them. I can hate them. Although I played a 3-1-3-3 in high school. And that's really weird. But it's kind of like a 4-3-3. But I think at this point, my point is that we can't do the magical mystery tour here at this point. Mm-hmm. We've got to get down to brass taxes, which is reality. And since there's zero evidence that Gregg has any idea of playing a 4-2-3-1 ever, then it's just not going to happen. I mean, you can't, the percentage chance of that happening, like I said, Gregg would have to be extremely high that morning and go, you know what? I've just had a revelation. Yep. But that's not Gregg. Gregg's about as flexible as a metal rod.
in this window, it's not going to happen. Come Nations League and any friendlies, he might experiment, which I still kind of doubt that, but definitely not going to happen this window.
Did CBS come after us? Didn't they give us a claim for the Kay Golazo video?
Not a claim. We just had limited monetization for that one. I don't know what the hell that was about.
Somebody complained about something. Yeah. Somebody complained
I was going to joke about this. I'm going to go, Jake, you better not strike us for this shit.
No, I don't think Jake will do that at all. But hey, I haven't met this
No, he won't do it. No, he won't strike us.
No, we love Jake. We love Jake. And so I'm not picking on this guy. I just watched the show because I watched Jake's show. So, and I like Jake's show. And I just thought, well, can we stop doing this? I mean, I guess he can do it if he wants. They haven't, I guess, had the whole team together. So he's just spitballing ideas. But the problem is we're kind of beyond spitballing at this point. Like, we know that Gregg Berhalter, like, you got to get to know this guy. You got to get in his brain. You got to mind meld with him. You got to Spock it out with him, right?
Well, and I think that's one thing. I think he does. I think what he is. I think I believe he said that he would like to see.
I think he said the word wish.
Yeah. So I mean, I even think that he's just like, and this is stuff that we all would like to do. Like, if we had to come up with the dream formation, we did this too. We did the, you did. I forgot what your formation that was.
4-2-3-1.
Okay, there we go. I did the 4-2-2-2.
Yours was a 4-2-2-2. Yeah.
Yep. So I mean, we all have our wish list and how we feel like, oh, this would work much better than.
But there's no
trotting out there,
There is no blurred lines when we do it. We clearly say this is just a fantasy world.
And we should have like a wish list, like a little warning sign at the very beginning of it all.
Yes, we make exactly. We make a very distinct difference between here's what Gregg's going to do and here's what we'd like to do. And I don't think we're going to do a lot of more. This is what I'd like to do, is because it's not helpful to people who, let's say, they're new fans of the game and they've been watching U.S. soccer for 5 years or something. And if we give them false hopes, that's not fair to them, because then they'll just be really pissed when it doesn't happen. And people are already pissed enough. There's no need to give them false hope. So no 4-2-3-1. And we can move on to the next one, which is sort of related as well. It's at the 28-30 mark. And props to Jake for pulling this thing together, because like he made sense. Like, he's like, let me grab the gavel. I'm making the decision, and this is who's going to play. But generally they got it right.
Yeah. I'm looking over their list as a whole. I mean, they got looking at the 4-3-3 and everything. That looks perfectly fine.
This is their Panama team, by the way.
We're not coming down on anybody when we do this, guys. Just remember that as content creators and everything, the reason we're out here talking is because we have an opinion, and we don't have a filter to stop us from saying things.
And we're old and grouchy. Well, at least I am.
Yeah, I'm the optimistic one, guys.
Yes, I'm the dark one. Can't you tell by my outfit tonight? I should have wore black eyeliner.
Like spy versus spy, and I guess it'd be the white.
Black lipstick, black eyeliner.
We don't need to go back to the 90s, Derek.
Yeah, I never did wear makeup on. Well, that's not true. We did a cover show once, and I did wear makeup, black eyeliner, and it was a T-Rex.
How long was the dress you wore?
It wasn't, because T-Rex didn't wear dresses. But I dressed up like T-Rex. I was
playing the guitar with tiny hands must have been tough.
You don't even know who they are, do you?
Fuck no, I don't.
Oh my god. What are we gonna do? I mean, I know I'm bad at movies and remembering movies, but we got to work on your music, man. T-Rex they're like English. They were right up there back in the day as English rock legends, right when the Beatles were around and kind of later on.
Out of my era.
All right. Great stuff. There's a video of me online somewhere doing a T-Rex cover from that show, and it's called Dandies in the Underworld. If you look up Brando in YouTube / or whatever, Dandy in the Underworld, there's me. That's me. Like, I don't know, 8 years ago? Playing on stage live. All right. Well, next one.
Here we go.
And then we'll take some questions to get the fuck out of here.
And do you guys have any other names that are kind of bouncing around in there that could possibly be in this lineup?
I think we got to talk about Georgi Mihailovic.
No, we don't.
I think you can talk about Mihailovic,
Could.
and then a guy that I would have loved to have seen brought on maybe a little bit sooner. It's way too late now, but
It is.
Alex Mendez continues to be getting really good minutes in the Portuguese league.
Not really.
He's just a guy that isn't even thought about really much anymore. But he's a guy. If we were to potentially do that 4-2-3-1, he's a little bit more offensive minded. But people, if they still remember him from the U20s, where he was just a complete offensive threat and didn't have much to his defensive game, he has grown immensely. His game is really rounded into form, and he can go into a tackle and come out all right. So he's a guy I wish we could have had as a potential person to throw in here, but at this point it's too late. He'd be one of those summer guys that we'd have to try to bring into the mix.
Dude, I almost had a Beavis attack.
Okay, just so
There we go. I almost lost it there.
I almost had a Beavis attack.
Before we
So no. You brought up 4-2-3-1 again. That's like, stop talking about the 4-2-3-1. Don't give anybody any hope for that, because it's just not happening.
I'm fine with him having a dream. We can all hope for greener pastures in the end.
And hasn't Mendez lost his starting role for a month now?
So yeah, let's. I guess we can talk about that. No,
He only played 12 minutes this week.
So I will kind of push back on Derek's a bit here and go play devil's advocate, because
goody.
yeah, let's go back and forth.
That way I can offend you and not the guy on the show.
Why are you always yelling at me, Derek? So anyways.
So he plays for Vizela in Portugal, just to clarify that.
So minus the start of the season, he had a couple of bench there. But for a good chunk of the season, he was getting some good minutes.
Yeah, he was
playing 90s, playing 80s, all the way down to 60s, a couple of small minute here and there.
Mm-hmm.
But he was having some consistent play time in the Portuguese league, which is the 5th best league in the world.
And then he had that horrendous game against Braga, and then his time got cut.
It started getting cut, but they came back. But the big concern is, for like the last month, he's gotten like 23 minutes.
Not good.
So
it's not
currently
good.
speaking, he's not on the best of form. Saying that again, he's had a pretty solid year as far as minutes are concerned. I mean, I haven't watched him play, so I can't tell you how he's performed by any means. I remember him from the youth levels, so again, I know the player he was at the time. But then again, I mean, I also remember Sargent scoring a lot of goals at the youth level too. So
listen,
things change, I guess.
I'm not saying we shouldn't talk about Alex Mendez.
Yeah.
We should. But if we're going to talk about him, we need to be real. And he's going through a slump right now, and he's not playing regularly anymore. It's been a month. Right? It's been, close to about a month. He has not been playing. So, no, he's not in form, and no, he's not playing for Vizela right now. Not a lot. He's playing some spare minutes here and there. He lost his starting role on the team, or big chunk minute role. And it's not because of injury. It's because he's had some really poor games, honestly. He's not good at defense. So, again, you could bring him in and play a magical 10 but we don't play a 10. And it's not going to happen, folks. And I just hate being this... I hate being this negative, because I want people.
Stop hitting it. It's already dead.
I want people to have dreams, okay? But it's the nitty gritty time. We're coming to the next window.
To his credit, he does say he'd likely be more of a summer guy that we look at. And quite frankly, at this point, Jordy's right up the same boat. It's too late. It's too late in the cycle.
Yep. He's right about that.
New into the mix.
It's way too late.
Expect the midfield to not really change, except for instead of Weston, we've got Luca De La Torre, who oddly enough was brand new in the system as of last window. So I mean, I guess things can change, but he'd been knocking on the door. Hey, Pete, thanks for the shout out. I mean, it was good, but how long had been people nagging Gregg about bringing Luca De La Torre in? Luca De La Torre went to the press and said, I don't know why I'm not being called up. It's BS.
Then when he got called up and played, he said, yeah, I should have been called up a long time ago.
I've been playing like this all season. Come on, what the hell?
It's like, I don't know what he was waiting for, but that's up to the manager.
Yeah.
So I think we've got the 11 that we think is the most probable at this point.
And I didn't catch the end of that, so I guess I don't know what their final 11 was. I'm looking at what they had because they're missing Luca De La Torre and they're missing the 9.
We'll go to the end when all the pieces are filled out. Let's see. And this is their Panama setup. They got it mostly right. They really did. So this is very light criticism. Very light. I'm trying to, deal with very soft mitts. Soft mitts here. But listen, guys, Richie Ledesma, people bring him up all the time. He's injured all the time. He's still not even back. Alex Mendez, Vizela, not playing right now for a month. Not playing much. And then when Hoppe gets called up, everybody's going to be like, well, he doesn't play. Yeah, he doesn't. But that's not where we have a problem right now at center
That
forward.
lineup looks familiar.
So
Like down to the T.
can you zoom in a little bit? Or is this as big as it's going to get? Holy, well, you're going to have to tell us who it is then.
So they got Jedi, Robinson, Zimmerman, Dest on the back line.
Who they got a goalkeeper? Horvath?
Horvath,
Oh, God.
Luca De La Torre, Adams, and Musa, and then Pulisic, Pifak, and Weah.
I think they nailed that for Panama. Unless Pifak plays in the first game. And
Oh, yeah, I guess, yeah. I guess
just-
I wasn't paying attention.
It's Panama.
It has to be. Well, they're. I'm guessing they are playing under the impression that Gregg came out last window and said we're playing our best 11. I don't care about yellow card accumulation. If Adams doesn't make the Canada game, he doesn't make the Canada game. I want to say though, this is a little bit different because quite frankly, if Adams would have gotten the yellow card last window, he would have been right as rain this entire window. So I think he's got to play this window a little bit different, in my opinion.
You would hope he would, because the most important game in this is 3 points against Panama, who are not exactly breathing up our buttholes, but they're right behind us. So, God, con snake.
No, let's read this one, I guess, too.
I was going to say,
hopefully-
you really like this guy.
I did. I mean,
Right?
he popped up right when I clicked on this one. So don't get me wrong. Hold on. Let's answer that while I was there. Hopefully our center backs won't have to make any passes. Yeah. Not the most affluent of passers, but Ryan says, why aren't you using edge, Brett? Go with the times.
Good. Someone went after you. That's good.
Sarcasm, Derek.
Yeah. So,
yeah,
I get it. All right. So, I mean, that's really all we can fit. We're at a minute 13.
Yep, we've only been on here a minute and 13 seconds, guys.
I mean, an hour. Fuck. Who smoked too much tonight? All right. I mean, listen, we don't have time to go through the Yanks of Prague report on this live show.
No.
There's no freaking way. Even if I just do a summary.
Be here till midnight.
Yeah. So, unless we have any other questions, anybody have any other questions, we will answer them. Do we have? Oh,
We got some stuff on Twitter.
there was one guy who, if we go to our last show that we did, sorry to spring this on you, Brett, but not our last show, the show before that.
The last live stream?
Believe so. When I was criticizing Heath for fantasizing too much and playing Salonina against Mexico. That show. There was a guy who had this really long response to me about, why it's okay to live in he didn't say it's okay to live in a fantasy world, but I thought he made some good points. And I just want to let people know, listen, if you want to make your own fantasy team, just go for it. I mean, I think that's totally fine. But if you're going to come on YouTube and in your show, I can't read it. It's too small.
Going the wrong way. Whoa, what the hell up in there? All right, this is as big as it's going to get.
There we go. Yeah, I can barely read it. Consider that the fairy tale lineups provide value for U.S. men's national team fans. Okay.
Who don't have the time or bandwidth to understand our deeper player pool.
Well, that's the problem, right? if they don't have the time and they don't know, they don't have the research, and you give them a fantasy line, now they're even more misled than they were before. You're not helping them. How is that provide fans?
I guess it may open up the realm of knowing new names. So, like, if we just continued trotting out the same 13 names for the starting lineup, they might not necessarily. So, judging from the very beginning of the World qualifying, if we just trotted out the exact same lineup and everything like that on our predictions, they might not have known who Luca De La Torre was, despite the fact that we talked about him all the time.
Yeah,
But
listen.
I think that's his point.
No, his point is still wrong.
It still broadens everybody's understanding of the player pool. Mind you,
Bullshit.
It might be setting them up for failure by saying,
No.
well, this Luca De La Torre guy plays over here. Why isn't he included?
Now, he's wrong. Because, listen, when we talk about a starting 11 and we debate all the major players that might play in that position, and then we pick the 11 and we talk about the rosters, we always talk about the guys that get left off that shouldn't have been left off. We always do that. Isn't that a more realistic way to do it than to create a fairy tale lineup and say, this is what I would do? And then people read it and they're like, okay, well, you're welcome to publish it if you want. I'm just thinking that's not helping people who are in the situation he mentions on this very thing. U.S. men's national team fans who don't have the time and bandwidth to understand our deeper player pool. There are lots of ways they can do that. Like, I would point them to the Soccer by Ives weekly reports, Yank reports. That would sum it up for them almost immediately.
That's a fair
At least
point, yeah.
the top. There are other ways to do it than creating a fantasy group and then not telling people explicitly, this is just my dream fantasy thing. That's the problem with that. If you don't tell them, then they're going to, if they're not informed, they're going to go, oh, well, this guy knows what he's talking about. And they're going to believe it because you're their information. And so when the guy doesn't show up on game day and he's nowhere, and I didn't even make the roster, let alone the starting 11, then you're not baffled by it. So anyhow,
He does go on to say maybe we need two separate ones like Tack did.
Yes.
Where hey, here's what I think Gregg's going to include. Here's what I think we should do.
Exactly what Tack does. He says, here's what I think Gregg's going to do. Here's what I would do. He's very distinct about that. So you learn about the player pool that isn't getting included sometimes. And you learn about, he's trying to do what we're doing, mind melding with Gregg. It's the only thing we can do right now. We got to use some evidence for that. We can't just go off in left field and say, well, this guy's never played before, but I think this is a good time to pick this guy out of the blue and play him. So there's that.
All right, just because I just realized as sharing my screen, people can start seeing certain things I've got saved to my desktop and everything. This happens to come up. See, Brett's a big Minecraft guy.
Was that your kids?
So guys, I do play Minecraft primarily because I've got kids, but I did play Minecraft prior to the kids. I'm a gaming guy and I like sandbox games, but I'm predominantly an indie game guy. So I play games like 7 Days to Die and a lot of old school games. Old school Boulder Gate games, XCOM, the originals, not the new shit. I'm not much of a AAA player. So
all I play is FIFA and every racing game you can think of. Like I'm a big F1 fan, a big IndyCar fan, big open wheel fan in general. So those games I play, I race. I love it. I love racing. I mean, if I could have done anything else in my life outside of what I did do, which is a lot of things. So I'm not complaining or anything. Don't get me wrong. But man, I love racing. And my dad used to race VW Bugs in Germany when I was a kid on the mud tracks, or sort of, they were like muddy, gravelly tracks. So he used to race those, and I'd go watch him run those little bug versus bug cars in Germany. So
I feel like much like any sport that I'm not interested in, going to see it live would be different than witnessing it on TV. Because watching racing on TV is just a good solution for insomnia for me.
Indy 500 live is mind blowing.
Again, going to actually see it live would be one thing, completely different, because you're experiencing it a whole difference. Whereas when you're watching on TV, especially like NASCAR, you're literally just watching them going in a circle. It's
Yeah.
like, I'll come
I'm
back
not-
right when they end.
I mean, NASCAR has switched to a lot more road courses and different tracks that don't just turn left. So they are trying to adapt because the fans ask for it. But you're right. I mean, I'm not as big of a NASCAR fan, and I'll watch it on occasion, but not if there's other things on TV. Like, we got a lot of soccer to watch, so it's kind of hard to watch other sports. Really is. So I have to be picky. So for me, it's F1 and it's soccer. That's what I pretty much focus on. And I watched the players today too, bits and pieces of the golf thing.
So again, guys, I've got a Switch because I've got kids. Definitely have Mario Kart, many different Mario games. Where's one I saw?
I also like games with a good story.
Well, just like fun games. I mean, just games that you can just play as a group. Those are fun to do.
When my younger son still lived here, I would play a lot of those sort of big time games. What were the big time games where you're like in space and you're traveling around? What was that game called? And there are it's a lot of cartoonish looking characters in it. You know what I'm talking about? Yeah, it's like almost a cartoon almost. I played that whole game. I also played all the zombie games with my son. But he didn't live here anymore. He's in college, so
it's gonna kill me.
Somebody's got to know what the hell
big,
I'm talking about.
Star Fox.
No, that doesn't sound right.
It's cartoony.
It is cartoony, but that's not it. I think I would know it. I heard it. There's like maybe this will make it to stand out. There's like a girl, and she's like 13 years old or whatever in it. And it's really kind of some weird scenes that she's in, and she's an idiot and she screams a lot and talks a lot. And then you just got to go all over these planets and doing all these missions and shit. And you're flying shit around and you're shooting guys with your laser gun. Anyhow, fuck it. I don't know my video games very well. I just played them because, it's the way we interacted. Halo! There it is.
That was like the saddest description of Halo I've ever heard. It's cartoony, so I immediately jumped to Star Fox.
Well, what's so funny about it is that, like, he would try to explain to me kind of like where we were on the narrative of the game. I'd be like, I don't give a fuck. Just turn it on and let's play. I don't want to know.
The quote-unquote 13-year-old girl you're talking about is Cortana, and she's not
okay.
She's not a 13-year-old girl. And
what was she? She looked like 13 or 11 or somewhere around that. Just like a little girl.
She's just a digitized AI adult female.
No, she was not.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
I don't think so. Anyhow, I'll ask.
Not a real person, man. It's just AI.
No, I get it. It wasn't a real person. I'm fully aware of that.
Weird that they'd give Master Chief a 13-year-old girl to lead him around.
Have you played Halo?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
I grew up playing it. I played all the way up through 3, and then at that point I got away from it.
Well, how the fuck would you?
More of an original.
How the fuck would you have described it?
It's just a space game where you're fighting against aliens, and they're trying to conquer Earth, and there's halos, So no, it's definitely my take on it was always the PvP version or PvP. I was never much of a PvE person, so I completed Halo 1 storyline, but I never really did any of the other Halos. I just played the PvP versions of it.
Okay. I don't even know.
It's a green guy that shoots aliens.
All right, I think do we have more questions?
Yeah, we got some Twitter stuff.
Okay, let's do it.
Chris Gary asked, how many times has Straight Red Card gotten into hot water with USSF players, Serbs, or whatever, or whoever?
we gotta sum this up, huh? Have we gotten hot water with the Serbs? Yes, that's before the 2010 whatever World Cup.
2010 World Cup, yeah.
Yeah, where we predicted they would finish last in the group, which they did.
Yep.
But in the meantime, we got all kinds of death threats. That was fun. One guy's like, I'm going to find out. Or no, he said, I know where you live, and I'm going to come and slit your throat. I'm like, the fuck? I don't know if you got any of those, but I got some weird shit. Players, just Danny Sedela, mostly, threatened to beat me up, and Eric Winola said I'm not his friend anymore. That was a long time ago, though, guys. I mean, both of those guys.
It's probably good friends now, though.
Yeah. And I doubt either one would remember it, at this point. So don't remind them. Chris.
It wasn't Chris that did it. It was a keyboard.
Okay. There's no point in bringing that back up. There's just no point. Let's let it go. We'd like to have Eric on the show. So let's let that go. And then USSF.
I imagine that means fight you. Not
Yeah.
figure you.
So we used to have a cartoon called the D-Rec Show, and it was a cartoon dog. And in one of the scenes we had, and this is after Danny Zedela was arrested at a bar where he got in a fight and he was intoxicated. He was arrested for, I don't know, some sort of physical violence and drinking and being drunk while fighting or whatever with his brothers or whatever. And so we did a little parody of that scene. And in the parody, he's walking down the hotel and I run into the dog, runs into him and start
Opens up
talking.
the door.
I talked to him and he's really drunk. And then he barfs all over the floor. And he did not like that.
Kid didn't like parodies.
He didn't like our parody at all. So it happens. I mean, there are probably other people that are really pissed at us. We did a lot of weird shit back then, guys. So
Sure, Ronaldo's not a big fan of D-Rec.
I mean, but it would be like Breck Shea being pissed at me for doing the skit where he gets eaten by an anaconda. He's just gonna laugh at that. He doesn't care. But why get all pissed off about a cartoon character of yourself? Why doesn't Berhalter start PFOC if Berhalter wants to cross the ball into the box? It's nuts. Dude, Frank, I seriously wish I could explain it to you. I'm just getting used to just being baffled by what he does. I mean, if we're really going to do a lot of crossing, set pieces, PFOC's your man.
Berhalter.
But if he starts Ferreira, I'm just going to be like, what the hell are we doing? What are we doing?
Yeah.
That's
thanks for the 5 there, Frank. Yeah, it's man. It's Berhalter. What can you say?
Yeah. And so when you try to predict what Berhalter is going to do, you just have to look at his patterns. That's all you have.
And you get sad.
You do get sad, and you wear dark shirts and dark hats like I do. So it's becoming, his unpredictability's become so predictable. That sounds like a Yogi Berra-ism, but it's almost easy to tell. The only reason it's hard to tell who the center forward's going to be this time, because no one's standing out. But if Altidore and Zardes show up in the 27, I'm going to be like, Gregg it.
Yeah.
I mean, he
shouldn't be surprised at this point, guys.
He just over-Gregged it more than I thought Gregg would Gregg it. So
overcorrected
like,
that turn, like, size, overcorrected.
Yeah, that's like getting mad at South Park.
People do get mad at South Park, though. That's the only reason why I brought this up, is that they do, and it's dumb. I mean, yeah,
threatening to come beat my face. That was uncalled for, and it actually all it did was just play into the stereotype that I created about Danny Zedela in the first place.
You're right. Yeah.
And I'm sure he's a good guy and he's way beyond that now and whatever. But dude, it was a decade ago and I'm sure he doesn't even remember it or care at this point.
All right, we're going on an hour and a half here, so let's hurry up and get through these last couple.
You guys mentioned that GGG will flack from media if he snubs Jonathan Brooks. What will happen if PFOC gets snubbed for Sardis?
I mean, we'll give him flack. I think mainstream is going to expect it.
Yeah, mainstream will ask questions like the following. So, Gregg, we just noticed in the roster that I noticed that PFOC wasn't there. Can you give us some idea why you're taking Zardes over PFOC at this point? Well, the way we plan to play in this window, we just felt that Josie was a better fit. We're going to work on verticality, and he's just going to bowl, and they're not going to go, okay, but come on, that's bullshit. They're not going to say that. They're just going to let him say that, and they'll move on to the next question. So, as Max Bretos said it, if you're going to be in the media and asking great questions, you got to play the game. Also, do you think it's best Gio sits versus Mexico, starts versus Panama, and sits again versus Costa Rica if we're qualified? I mean, you could do it all kinds of ways, I suppose. But I would like to see at least Gio get like 10 or 15 minutes in the Mexico game if you can get him in, just to see where he's at and how he feels, and make sure the team's getting acclimated to him again. So, yeah, I mean, but you could do it all kinds of ways. You just can't overplay him. So, who are the top 4 players you're most worried about getting put on this upcoming roster?
PC, playing time.
Oh, getting playing time on this roster. The usual suspects.
Yeah, it's usual suspects, guys. Yeah, it's legit rolled on.
I'm not going to rub
Artists.
more shit in their face at this point. You know,
Rolla.
you know who they are. I mean, we've said it, but I'm not worried.
And again, I always have to stress this because I don't necessarily make it seem like we're taking a giant dump on these players, and we're not necessarily calling these players bad. We're just saying there are better options out there in our opinion.
Yeah,
and we're 2 idiots with a microphone voicing our opinion, and that's all it means. That's all it is.
And it's not an anti-MLS bias at all. We're perfectly happy with Miles Robertson, Zimmerman, Robert Robinson, Turner being on this team if he gets his toes defrosted in time. Acosta whipping in set pieces. All happy with all that. So what strikers is Gregg going to call? I think we already went over this. I think it's Pepe, but for Artis. Wouldn't shock me if it was that.
It wouldn't shock. Well, I guess it would kind of shock us given the fact that he went to go see Sargent live.
He did.
I mean, that's going to be kind of a solid indicator that he's interested in calling him back up. But maybe he calls him up as a winger instead of a striker. Maybe these 3 players get the 9 position. Who knows?
Damn ears need to pop. Yeah, I mean, that could happen too. I mean, the center forward spot is the most screwed up spot. As I mentioned at the beginning of the show, there are reliable rumors Hoppe might make this team. Mm-hmm. So I just want to say it one more time. We've been right about Brooks. If we get this one right, people are going to have to say, well, no one saw that coming from left field. But if that happens, that'd be great. If it doesn't happen, I'll just say, sorry, I got bad information. And I aired it. But, I mean, this is from people I trust. So,
and, I mean, that's the problem with rumors is that if you don't actually announce them as a possibility, then it really will surprise people. But we're not sitting here going like, Hoppe will definitely be there this window. 3 days from now, expect to see his name on that list. We're saying it's a possibility.
I was told 80%. That's crazy. That's not a number I even expected. So I'll have to pat that source on the ass again they've given me so much information about other people too that were right in the past. Brooks.
Here's one we bring up a lot.
What about Nico G? He's always playing in League One.
Yeah.
No, not really. He's not playing that much.
He's getting bit minutes or half games here and there.
He's got a lot of he's got like assists per minute. It's like 1 assist a game. If you want to calculate it that way, the problem is he's not playing a lot of minutes. And I just think he'll have to stand out and do something else. I mean, because Gregg will not play him as a center forward.
No.
So he's battling Weah. He's battling Pulisic for a spot, Aronson for a spot, and even probably Jordan Morris. So, I mean, you have to ask yourself, how would Jordan Morris do in France? I think, unless he's playing one of the top 3 teams in France, he's going to do pretty well, or the top 5 teams in France. I think he'd do well as well. So, and by the way, Seattle have been on fire in the Champions League. So that includes Roldan.
What MLS team hasn't been, apparently.
I know, but Roldan's playing very well right now.
Mm-hmm.
Even
if he wasn't, again, don't expect him not to be on the roster. He's going to be on the roster, guys.
Yeah, he's going to be on the roster.
Real quick, just jumping before we jump to the next one. Football continues. He goes, also, do you think Gregg goes with Luca De La Torre at the top option to replace McKinney? We talked about that.
Mm-hmm.
Or are we going to get an Acosta and Busio, assuming Adams and Musa are the other first 2 options?
Yeah, Busio just got back and played today. in a loss
Mhm.
against Lazio, and he did play like 80 plus minutes. So Tessman didn't get in at all. I just think that Busio's been out too long. He had an injury, and then he had nobody knows exactly what. So how do you think Gregg will tackle Nations League? Will it be a chance for some Euro guys to shine that are on the outside looking in, or will it be like a Camp Cupcake Gold Cup where it's mainly MLS lifers? I think it's going to be a mix. I think there are some Euro guys he would like to try. So let's say Hoppe doesn't make this roster.
Mhm.
That's a good time to bring Hoppe in. It's a good time to try guys like Mendez out.
It's during the off season. They're going to be more inclined to be included, whereas it's going to be in the middle of the season for MLS. So unless it's a player like Mihailovic, or somebody along that ilk, somebody who is on the cusp of being called in, but not quite because he hasn't had any chances. That's a possibility, but I think it's going to be, you're going to see a consistent number of the starters still, because Gregg still wants to qualify for the Nations League finals.
Yes,
so he still wants to find. But I think he'll test the water with some other players. Are kind of getting bit minutes here.
We didn't really address Mihailovic earlier when that was brought up by one of the panelists on Jake's show, but honestly, for this window, unless we're done and we're qualified after the first two games, I don't really expect Mihailovic to get a start. Like they were talking about, who should we consider to start for McKennie's spot? It ain't going to be Mihailovic. Okay. It's not. I don't care how good he's playing right now. We've heard from many of the players that it takes like 2 or 3 weeks to figure out Gregg's system, 2 or 3 call-ups to really figure out Gregg's system. Mihailovic, he doesn't know what you would have to squeeze him in somehow and justify it. And God help him if we lost. So I think you could play him in the last game. Laughing out loud at the name. What name? Philip Whitcomb. Philip Whitcomb. Okay, I get it. Philip Whitcomb.
Mitch is definitely upping his game from the last couple of live streams.
Is this the Ice Wallow guy too?
It wouldn't surprise me, but he's done a couple of the other ones with us.
Okay.
I forgot what the one you caught, because you're like, that was a common one back in the day.
Yeah. All right. Anything else?
New. It looks like that.
Good God, folks! An hour and 37 minutes later.
I was concerned. That we weren't going to have enough content to cover an hour.
And we didn't even get into some of the content we thought we would have to cover in the live show. And so now we're going to do it for the non-live show, the recorded show.
Try to speed it up and not have another 40-minute segment.
Yeah, we better, because we haven't even talked about Jesse's big win this weekend.
Mm-hmm.
We haven't talked about any of the big Yanks abroad players and their performances this weekend. Well, we have kind of in an offhanded way. So we haven't talked about the CCL hardly at all. Yeah, dude, we got nothing done in this show.
we got a lot done. We just do what we normally do, and we just talk.
Yeah, I want to thank everybody that came out and watched the show live. I also want to thank the 2 guys that have already bought T-shirts. That freaking rocked. Like, I requested it. We fixed the link. You guys went in. Bam. 2 shirts bought already. So we've also got cups, and we got beer glasses in there now too, with the Straight Red Card logo. So awesome. I'm going to buy one for myself because I want to drink out one of those. So yes, Cruz Azul's probably winning the CCL, but you have to admit the MLS teams have been doing well.
Dude, you threw me for a loop when you said that too, because I thought that they were actually playing today.
No, but he's probably right. That's what's going to happen. I mean, I really think this is our year. If we can get
go Montreal.
But go Montreal. Yes. Yeah. Montreal still has a shot. It's not totally out of the question. They could, get some points, score some goals in that next game. Yes, we have the merch now. It's Teesprings. We got a bunch. There's shirts. There's cups.
Check the
mugs.
description, guys.
They're cock warmers. No, they're no cock warmers. So
Dude.
I don't have time to weave those. I mean, I do for the.
Dick's in there watching soccer shows.
I could probably get that done for the 3-inchers, but anybody with anything bigger, it would take me a long time to knit.
It kind of looks like it just has 3 balls.
Yeah, so I could do some extra smalls, but who wants to buy that online? Yeah. Otherwise, again, thank you for all of you who came out. Make sure you like it, subscribe, share it with your grandma. We will be back with another show after this one comes out tonight. It'll be the recorded show where we'll cover all the other things we just couldn't get to tonight. All right, guys. Thanks for your support. Cheers.
Do it again. Ah, fuck. And like it. That's way too many likes. I got a comment on a channel. Fuck. Oh. Yeah. That should probably do. That should probably do.
Thank you for watching the Straight Red Card. Make sure you like, subscribe, and share it with your grandma. Your grandma is probably about as old as I am. Seriously, she probably is. Again, thanks for supporting the show. Let's keep kicking it on down the fucking road. Good night. That hurt.